kids are having fun, they'll eventually dedicate themselves to the game and actually acquire real skills. But it starts with fun first. You're never going to start, by drilling them into the ground and then it becomes fun. Yeah, baseball is fun when you're better at it, but I do believe that it starts with falling in love with the game first, and then they will commit themselves and stay in the game and learn real skills.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the world's favorite youth baseball podcast, Clearing the Bases, featuring Coach Jimmy Filangieri. I'm David Friedman. I want to thank you for coming along on this ride with us.
You could see that these kids, they're failing right in front of your eyes, but they don't hang their heads. It's not like they're going to get 2 balls in the field the whole day and they're going to be waiting a week to their next game. Like, they might get 3 at-bats, 4 at-bats in an inning. So if they strike out, there's only 5 people on a team. No hanging your heads. You got to get right back up there because your team relies on you. So the game just moves really fast. I mean, we mapped it in a regular youth baseball game at the ages of 9 years old for kid pitch. Kids they're involved in somewhere between, it was actually 2.3 plays per game. Literally, they're touching the ball 2.3 times a game if they're not pitching. That's not a lot of time to learn.
David Klein, he is the founder, I guess you would say he's the inventor of Speedball. Now, I know you're going to say, what is Speedball? Well, kind of like put it in a nutshell. Instead of having 2 teams of 12 players, David's concept is 3 teams of 5 players. So what they do is the teams rotate from hitting to outfield to infield. They speed up the rules, which minimizes the dead time of the game. And all of this is what we talk about all the time. It's for the sake of developing players. It makes it more exciting and it makes it fun. So here we go with another developmental episode with David Klein of Legends Baseball Camps and Speedball. Okay, everyone out there, tonight we have another special guest. We always have special guests on this show. You know what? We're going to put it as tonight we have Captain Fun on the show.
Okay. Yes.
So
beautiful. Honored to be here, Jimmy. Thank you. And yes, my kids call me Captain Fun. The internet knows me as David, but I'd like Captain Fun to be commonplace across the world with when it comes to my name. So I appreciate that.
Well, I got to say that when I first saw that, it made me smile because you've probably heard me say it because, we have spoken in the past. I want the kids to have fun. So, to hear that, you go by Captain Fun, beautiful thing. So,
well, here's the deal, Jimmy, is like, if I told the coach out there, I want you to give me 30 reasons why baseball is fun for kids, you could probably come up with 30 things. And my guess is that many of those things, most leagues, most teams, most organizations aren't hitting on. So when we stripped down the rules and we looked at Speedball and all the things that we could do to make it more fun, and the kids said they like nicknames, we're like, well, why aren't we just going to go by nicknames? So since we redesigned the youth baseball experience in our vision based on the modern brain, we decided that all players and all coaches should go by nicknames only because that is fun.
Absolutely. I'm sure the kids enjoy that immensely.
They do. They love trying to figure out our real names. That's always the biggest challenge.
Well, you want to know something? I mean, in my case, it would help a lot because the kids have a hard time with my last name, and I don't blame them. But nobody's come up with a nickname for me yet, though. That's pretty interesting in all these years.
Make it like an icebreaker, at the start of practice, or make it homework. Say, hey, I want everybody to come home and, come up with 1 or 2 nicknames, come up with a nickname for me. We're going to vote on it, and that's going to be our names for the rest of the season. And you know what? It just adds a level of fun to it. And repetition is the death of memory. The more we do things over and over and over again, the same way, we run and touch the foul pole, we do our stretching routine, we do our dynamic, we do our throwing, it's boring, right? Yeah. How can we do things to keep things fresh and unique? Nicknames are simple. There's 0 cost to it, and it's a way to make it unique.
Yeah, I mean, what you had just said, it's always a struggle. I like to keep my practices light and airy, we'll say. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs. I mean, we do have to put our nose to the grindstone, and we do have to get done, what we need to do. But, yeah, I mean, if we're not having fun, then what's the purpose?
Yeah, I mean, if kids are having fun, they'll eventually dedicate themselves to the game and actually acquire real skills. But it starts with fun first. You're never going to start, by drilling them into the ground and then it becomes fun. Yeah, baseball is fun when you're better at it, but I do believe that it starts with falling in love with the game first, and then they will commit themselves and stay in the game and learn real skills.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. So let's get into it a little bit here. Now, I had a hard time distinguishing between Menlo Park Legends, Legends Camps, and Speedball. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the differences between all of those?
For sure. Well, all of it is kind of under my watch here. Everything started as Menlo Park Legends baseball. I graduated. I played Division I baseball at the University of California, Santa Barbara. Played baseball at Santa Barbara City College just before that. When I wasn't drafted, I was heartbroken, just like many of you guys out there. I wanted to be a big leaguer. I believe that I had a number of really rough coaches, and I was like, you know what? I want to be a coach because I think that I can do it better than those who I was coached by. You learn more from bad coaches than you do from good coaches. And I had a lot of good coaches. I had many, many bad coaches. And so back in 2009, when I graduated from UC Santa Barbara, I was like, you know what? I want to start my own semi-professional collegiate summer team and youth summer baseball camp. I modeled it after the Santa Barbara Foresters, and the program was called Menlo Park Legends Baseball. It was an elite collegiate summer team. Elite college athletes would come from all over the country, much like the Cape Cod League, stay in host families in the community, coach youth summer day camps during the day, and that ran its course for about 8 years. It grew and grew and grew. We became a nationally recognized program. Took a high school job, was a varsity coach for 3 years, walked away from that. Right as I walked away from that, COVID hit. When COVID hit, our worlds were shaken upside down. There was nobody offering baseball in the area. Nobody could figure it out. At that point, it was an opportunity for me to put something out there that I believed was really necessary, create something new, because nobody had any baseball opportunities. So they had to sign up for the only thing that was out there. So I was like, great, I can basically create any program that I want and people are going to sign up for it. I know that sounds crazy, but that's exactly what happened. And in Northern California, we were told that we had to stay in stable pods of 12 kids for 3 weeks at a time. Kids couldn't play with other kids outside of those 12 kids. So we had to figure out, how do you play baseball games with just 12 kids? And what we realized was that you could. In fact, it was actually more fun that way. You just needed 4 hitting, bases loaded plus a hitter, 3 outfielders plus a catcher, first base, second base, shortstop, third base. You rotate from hitting to outfield to infield. We called it 4 versus 4 versus 4 baseball. We did a lot of survey work. We figured out every single thing that made baseball more fun. We doubled down on that. We removed everything that made baseball more boring, and that really was the birth of Speedball. We've been doing it for 4 or 5 years now. 10 seasons. It's been selling out. It's been growing like wildfire. I think we're going to have 11 different communities and leagues that are going to be launching this coming fall. We're so excited about it. So we have Legends Camps, which is our camp franchise system. We're the only registered franchise in the country to specialize in just baseball and softball. We have Menlo Park Legends, where we have 2 collegiate summer teams. They provide staffing for our camps. And then we have Speedball, which is really after school programming, primarily in the fall and in the winter, to make sure that kids are falling in love with the game and developing some real skills.
So with the Speedball, tell me what age group?
We like it for 7 to 12. Okay. 6 to 12 will take some advanced 6-year-olds. The most pure form of Speedball is what we call pro pitch, aka coach pitch, but we call it pro pitch because all of our coaches are trained professional coaches that have played high level college ball, maybe pro ball. They throw lots of strikes. They have loud booming voices, and it's not just little, they're trained on how to emulate kid pitchers, and it makes it so that kids get anywhere between 10 to 15 at bats a game. And obviously that means more balls in play, more failure, more learning, which obviously means more fun. So that's kind of how it all started. So we have 3 different levels from ages 7 to 10: hit and run, double play, triple play. starting with kind of 6 to 8 year olds, then goes to 7, 9 year olds, 8 to 10 year olds, then to 10 to 12 year olds. Then we start our kid pitch version. Kid pitch version, you don't get as many at bats because obviously, the kids are pitching, but they'll still get 6 to 10 at bats in an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, which is obviously significantly more at bats than you would get in a single kid pitch game at the rec or even travel ball level.
Right. And I mean, we had, when we were in Kansas City and we were talking about youth baseball, one of the things that we did talk about was putting the ball in play. Okay, so kids are not standing around picking daisies. So that sounds to me like what you're doing, we're getting much more balls in play. The kids are active, they're learning, yes?
Oh yeah. I mean, you could see that these kids, they're failing right in front of your eyes, but they don't hang their heads. It's not like they're going to get 2 balls in the field the whole day and they're going to be waiting a week to their next game. Like they might get 3 at bats, 4 at bats in an inning. So if they strike out, there's only 5 people on a team. No hanging your heads. You got to get right back up there because your team relies on you. So the game just moves really fast. I mean, we mapped it in a regular youth baseball game at the ages of 9 years old for kid pitch. Kids they're involved in somewhere between, it was actually 2.3 plays per game. Literally, they're touching the ball 2.3 times a game if they're not pitching. That's not a lot of time to learn. In Speedball, they're touching the ball. They're involved with around, on average, 12 plays per game. So it's significantly more activity, more thinking through situations, more movement, more communication. It's just a faster, more modernized and fun approach to play.
So now with the younger guys, they're all young guys, but is the game run more like a practice where, in other words, like a coach can kind of like stop things and correct kids, or is it just strictly a game and you just stand and watch?
We like to make it instructional. So we have trained professional coaches. It's developmental baseball. It's still competitive. We have scores, we have standings, we have playoffs, we have championships, we have announcers, we have the whole thing. But we make sure that we have 4 coaches there at all times, 1 in the dugout, 1 at third base, 1 behind second base, 1 on the mound, and we're not missing a teachable moment. So we will stop the game. It still runs fast, but every time, every new hitter, we're breaking down the situations. Every time there's a mistake, we're teaching them. And obviously, if some kid doesn't receive feedback well while on the field, we'll wait for them to get back in the dugout. But at the end of the day, we're trying to hit on every teachable moment possible.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I love the idea of being able to teach on the field. We all know that, the common thing we see is coaches screaming at the kids on the field,
Mm-hmm.
Young kids getting yelled at for making an error, which is something that everybody does, but more importantly, being able to, if the kid misses a cutoff or something, be able to stop and correct and say, this is the right way to do it. I love it.
Yeah, and the other thing, Jimmy, that's been really positive for us and that we have baked into the rules is that all the kids play every position, every game. And look, at the age, and I get it, come 12, 13, 14, okay, let's start to specialize a little bit. Let's start to really, hey, we're going to be a middle infielder. Let's focus on, middle infield work, or we're going to be a pitcher. Let's start to dial that in a little bit. But at the ages of 10 and below, let's get those lefties. Let's get them out at shortstop. Let's get them playing every position. Yeah, they may not play that position in high school, but them getting that perspective and learning the game from every different vantage point is really valuable. And a lot of kids, they want to learn all the different positions. In Little League, as you know, I mean, they're required to get 1 at bat and play 6 outs in the field. So if you're not at the top of your Little League team, you're never going to get to the top of the Little League team because you're not oftentimes getting those reps, because a lot of Little League coaches nowadays, not all of them, they're just going to play. If you're not the best player on the team, you're going to get that 1 at bat, you're going to bat 9th, and you're going to get 2 innings on the field. That's not fun. That's not developmental for anybody out there. And so we've kind of solved against that by allowing everybody to play all the time. There's no sitting the bench. They play every single position. It's super fun like that for the kids.
Yeah, and let's face it, I mean, at the high school level, I move players around. I have players that come in and they say, well, you know what, I'm a middle infielder, and I'll try him out in, center field. We had a kid this year that was a second baseman, all through Little League and all of that, and we moved him to first base, and he did well. So I agree with you, and as a matter of fact, I used to do it when I was coaching rec ball many years ago, and believe it or not, I got criticized for it, where I would move the kids all over the place. They'd play all over. And, guys would say to me, well, you're not a good coach. Your teams never win anything. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. This is rec baseball. We're learning. I'm not worried about winning a game. I'm worried about making well-rounded baseball players.
Totally. What we're hearing from a lot of the families, we've heard it a ton this spring, is that, hey, my son, they reach out to me. They're like, hey, like, I just wanted to let you know that we have this one kid, his name's Reed. He's not very big. He's playing majors right now. He's not the biggest. He's not the strongest. He's not the fastest, but he's the most valuable player on the team because he can play every single position. He knows how to run the bases. He knows where to be on the field, and he's super valuable. No, he doesn't throw the ball across the diamond like these big guys can, but he knows the game way better than everybody else because he's had significantly more repetitions in the offseason than others have.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So now with the Speedball, now this is something that I mean, how does it work? Do you try and like set up leagues all over, or do you go into youth rec leagues and try and promote this? How does it work?
We have 3 different offerings and ways that we're scaling it, Jimmy. The first is we have our own sort of company owned locations or franchises where we'll set it up. It's a league. And everybody, you take, let's just say 60 players and you create 2 divisions of 30 players, 6 teams of 5, and they all just beat up on each other within your own program. So you're not playing and relying on tournament providers or other teams or other field providers. It's your own program. And that's a big deal, being able to make your own schedule, create your own, train your own coaches and all that. So we have that as far as a company owned thing. And we have about 10 of those. We then have an opportunity where you can buy an official registered franchise. This is for folks that actually want to scale a program in their community and make it a legitimate business and scale something really special. Okay, that's a higher investment. We then have a new program, which is called the Speedball League License Program. We're working with Little League International to get this to be licensed all over the world. We have some pilots going in Northern California where existing, and we have one in Iowa, and we have one in North Carolina, where existing nonprofit recreational programs that have kids in their program can convert their program or a specific division of their program into a Speedball League division. It's a low-cost thing. It's essentially like a Little League charter. It comes with a game manager's toolkit, lineup cards, announcers sheets, scoreboards, how to do speedball practices, video trainings, access to Legends Coach Academy so you can get all your coaches trained, access to the trademarks, the logos, the branding, the video trainings, and all that stuff. So really everything that someone would need to launch and scale a program in the community, we offer it as part of that Speedball League license program.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like it's like a win-win for everybody. I mean, the more you can get this out there and get more people doing this, it seems to me, I mean, we'll use that word, development. I mean, it's all about developing young players. And if more people did this, I believe that what I'll say is that when they get up to the high school level, I won't see the problems that I see now.
Yeah, you won't have to uncoach a lot of the things, and you won't have to go over, certain cuts and relays. Kids just really, they really understand and know the game, which is a huge deal.
But I got to be honest with you, it's not even working on cuts and relays. It's not working on first and thirds, bunt defenses. It's not. It's really as bad as. I'll give you a perfect example. Okay, so we're on defense. The other team had first and second. 2 outs, ground ball hit right to my third baseman. He wound up like he was going to throw the ball to first base. Now, this is a high school senior, okay? I'm seeing things like that I'm at wit's end. I'm like, how could this be? So,
yeah,
to your point.
That's it. These kids they're just not getting enough. They're not getting enough gameplay when these games are running 4 innings and their kids are, we're talking about high school here, but it really starts at the young ages, 7, 8, 9, 10, where they're learning the game. And, one game where they're going to get 12 outs on defense because, little Johnny is walking every guy and then he walks the guy and he steals second, pass ball goes to third, pass ball scores. It's just not baseball. And so, what we've created is not too different than how basketball has 3-on-3 tournaments. Soccer's got indoor soccer. Football's got flag football now. It's not necessarily there to replace all of recreational or travel baseball. It's a new and attractive alternative for kids to learn, grow, and develop in the game and get them to be lifelong baseball lovers. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the more we can teach younger kids the basics. And again, I also believe that a lot of people don't understand to teach the game in its simplest form, to teach the simple things to the kids. They right away they want to get into, like, I mean, I went to a 10-year-old practice. Again, it's going back years ago, where the coach was working on pickoffs with a 10-year-old kid. I mean, why are we doing that? You know,
that's a big problem right now with travel baseball, is that, you know, we're taking 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds who are still learning how to play catch in the right way, still learning the game, how to set up at the plate, how to have an approach, and we're focusing on teaching them on holding runners and steals and all these things, how not to balk, how to pick off correctly, all these things that, quite frankly, they don't really need yet. It's like teaching a 6-year-old calculus when they're just trying to, lock in and figure out, long division or straight, addition. Let's focus on the basics first, and then we can build upon it. But I find that we're valuing the wrong things at the youth level. Like with these tournaments, it's basically, hey, win at all costs. We're going to play everybody on Saturday, and then on Sunday we're going to play our best 9. Well, what is that telling? What is that teaching all of our players? It's not a focus on the process, it's focus on the result. And we know as baseball people that it's all about the process. And if you focus on the process, the results will come over time. Yeah,
there's no doubt. I mean, it was brought up to me several times this year because I just took over a new baseball program, and I can't tell you how many of my baseball friends kept telling me, Jim, trust the process, trust the process. It's all about the process. That's what it is. And if your process is good and you continue to stay true to it, then the wins take care of themselves. I think that people try and force wins instead of just letting them take care of themselves.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think one of the coolest things was, the other day, it was we're finishing up the end of our Little League season, and I'm just watching these kids who can barely hit the ball off a tee. We're doing coach pitch, and these guys are crushing the balls, coach pitch. And to show to a kid that, hey, with a little bit of hard work and focus, you can make drastic changes, not just in your baseball game, but in your life too. That is probably one of the most valuable things that you could offer a young man or woman, that you can make changes to your life, to your game, to your skills with a little bit of hard work and dedication. And that is something that great coaches can pull out of kids and teach them really well. So I inspire any coaches out there to take that to heart, focus on that process, because it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And again, like you had touched on about life lessons. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. And I firmly believe that yes, we're teaching baseball, but we're teaching life lessons. We're trying to develop, good young men and good young women to be good fathers, mothers, business people, whatever. That's what we're teaching them to do. And it's just so totally important.
Yeah, we've gone really deep into it, Jimmy. I'll just show you. I don't know if any of the listeners are watching out there. You can see this. So this is called the Legendary Life Playbook. I'm showing it to the screen right now. But essentially what it is, it's 10 lessons that map to the 10 weeks of the Speedball season. So you can see we have, goals, routines, adversity, process, mindset, balance, habit, nutrition. And it's one actionable task that the player will take home and do on their own. Like, hey, I want you to, go through a morning routine every day and go through, create a pre-pitch routine and write it down, and then have your parents sign it. And if they bring this back, they get a Legends token. We give them a token, and then they can redeem those tokens at the games, the Speedball games, for a number of different prizes that are available. So, we've doubled down on this, and I think this has been a big differentiator for our Speedball League, and that families know that, hey, not only do my players learn a lot about the game of baseball, they actually get better as people too. And not just that, these life lessons that we teach, they become shared language for the entire family. So we talk a lot about like reset strategies, and this button on the top of the hat, we talk about this being a reset button. And you'll see, little Johnny's out in right field crying, and mom is out there in the stands, saying, hey, Johnny, reset button. You could see him taking off his hat, looking at his personal power phrase inside of his hat, taking a few deep breaths. And that's the difference, right, between a kid shutting down after their strikeout and wanting to quit, during that game or quit the season, and then being able to get back in the box and come up with a game-winning hit later in the game. Great coaches equip their players with actionable strategies for how to self-regulate.
I love that. I love the button on top of the hat. That's a beautiful thing, reset button. And, again, it's a simple thing, right? But it's teaching an important lesson. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and those same things, before I came on this, I closed my eyes for a second, visualize, try to clear my mind. Those same types of things that we do on the baseball field, they're applicable for the rest of their lives. So these kids, 99.8% of them are not going to be big leaguers, but they're all going to go big league in something else. Let's give them some actionable skills that they can take with them beyond their baseball career. Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up, because it was one of the things that I did want to bring up. And, I'm glad we were able to touch upon it. Talk to me a little bit about a parent's role in a young player's development. What do you believe it should be?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think generally what these parents want to do is you want to find programs that have leaders or program organizers or directors that share your values, and that's it. And so talk with them about it. If they're the type, if your child needs a little bit of a hard nose type of coach, a little more disciplined, well, that's good. Go with that guy. If your child needs someone a little bit softer around the edges, he had a really challenging little league experience or a tough coach, find someone who's gonna let him play a little bit more freely. But I think it's up to us as parents to find good quality programming for our kids, be a guide on the side, not put too much pressure on them. But at the end of the day, our goal is to make sure that they absolutely love baseball. That's it. And that they have a diversified portfolio of different activities. The last thing that college coaches want is these travel baseball rats that have been playing baseball 11 months out of the year from the ages of 8 to 18. We know that those guys are more susceptible to both physical and emotional burnout. So I think it's up to us as parents to regulate their seasons, making sure that they're not burning out emotionally and physically. And we're helping our kids, have a diversified portfolio of different activities and allow them to still be kids. Because if the listeners out there are anything like they're out here in California, parents are booking their kids up every day with multiple things, karate on Mondays, music on Tuesdays, baseball on Wednesdays. They're not going to have time to go out there and play stickball or just be kids anymore. We need to get back to the place where kids are playing loosely supervised or unsupervised, loosely structured baseball out in the streets. This is where mental toughness is built. This is where athleticism is built. This is where relationships are formed. And I think it's up to parents to leave space for our kids to have those types of opportunities.
Yeah, you'll get no argument from me, because you just explained my childhood. That's the way it was. There were no parents around. Summertime, we left the house early, and I'm talking about very young ages. I'm talking about 8, 9, 10 years old. We left the house. We were gone. We were playing ball all day, and then we came back home at dinner time. That was it. And it, to your point, it teaches so much. It builds mental toughness. It showed us how to work hard. It showed us how to compete, because, I say it all of the time that, like we'd go in a schoolyard and we would have pickup games. You didn't want to be the last guy picked. Okay. So that made you work harder to be better. And there's so many good things with letting kids play on their own. Get rid of the adults. They cause too many damn problems.
Yeah, I mean, baseball is a confrontational sport, right? It's me at the plate versus you, and I want to rip that ball. And you don't get that always when you are signing your child up for 2 lessons in a batting cage, twice a week. I would argue that your kid's going to get more out of sneaking onto the local high school field and setting up at second base and playing home run derby with his buddies for hours on end. Sure. That's fun. That's different. There's creativity there, right? There's more competition based there as opposed to learning everything in the cage. So I think the more we can get our kids outside playing unstructured, loosely supervised play, I think the better athletes we're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I've talked about it before, where with the high school where I'm coaching now, we don't have a baseball field on campus. So when I hold my practices, I do it on the football field, and I'm able to set up a diamond where I will be missing one of the fields, whether it be left field or right field. And I use it that way to actually teach my hitters like we did when I played in the schoolyard, because if you hit the ball to left field, it went on top of a roof on top of the building. So we weren't, if you hit to left field, you were out. So everything had to go to right field. Well, I do the same thing with my high school guys, again, teaching them barrel control, how to control their at-bats, how to have an approach and stuff like that. Trying to bring that, and again, it's not done on purpose, it's done out of necessity, but trying to bring that back where, I'm making that schoolyard type environment again.
Yeah, all that stuff will just make a more dynamic, more adaptable and flexible athlete, and that they can perform in many different types of settings and environments. And I think that's super valuable. So yeah, props to you for getting creative. I think as high school coaches, we've all had to figure out how to get creative, whether it be in gyms or parking lots or football fields. And great coaches do that well and figure out great ways to use that space.
Yeah, and it all goes back to, what we were talking about, fun. When you do that, I believe it takes the Monday, it's not boring anymore. Now it's something different, so the boys see it that way and they get a little excited about doing it.
Yeah, look, I think one of my philosophies and something that I talk about with all of my teams and that comes across a lot in our marketing, Jimmy, and this is something that I would encourage anybody out there that has a program that's trying to differentiate or be competitive with other programs is don't try to be better than any other program. Every program is saying, we have a track man, we have a Rapsodo, we do this many tournaments, we have better coaches. I don't try to be better than anybody else. We just try to be completely different. When you're completely different in what you provide, you're in an ocean of one. You have this blue ocean strategy, and therefore what we have now with Speedball is we have zero competition. So when we have a 7 or 8 year old who comes in and falls in love with our coaches, with Speedball, with the life lessons and the prizes and the gamification and everything that we do, they're a customer and they're with us until they age out at 13 or 14 years old, because there's nothing like it.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I'm looking to do something in the fall with just like a 2-team type thing. And again, being different, because I want to put my money where my mouth is, because I say that the problem with travel teams is that they don't practice enough. So what I want to do is put together a couple of teams, 15 kids on each team, maybe a 7th grade and an 8th grade team, and practice 5 days a week and maybe play a game or 2 on the weekend, but then practice again during the week. Again, to your point, no travel organization does that. And if you can do that, it's going to be so great for the boys, because they're going to get that training and that development that we all talk about.
Totally. And look, you might lose some families that believe, and it's their belief, that games are where the development happens. And maybe for some kids that had a heavy dose of cage time and development and didn't get a lot of games, they need that type of experience. But I would like to think that the majority of families, majority of young players, they need more access to great coaches and in a practice setting. And what we're seeing across the board here is that we're playing maybe 5 games to 1 or 2 practices, where you practice 1 day per week, maybe twice, but you're going to play 4, maybe 5 games across the weekend. It actually should be inverted in that we have 2 practices for every 1 game at the amateur level instead of 2 games for every 1 practice. I think that's a better ratio.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Again, what we're going back to, the very rudimentary parts of the game can be taught. And then, like I said, maybe we'll play a game on the weekend. Let's see if what we're doing in practice is actually working. And if it's not, then we hit it at practice again and make sure we get it done until it's right.
Yeah, I mean, those, having the games is important because it does, portray, hey, what it is that we need to work on from practice to practice, and then you attack it at the next practice, and have the players have some buy-in too. Hey guys, what did we not do well over these weekends of games? Have them self-reflect, have them start at practice, and then when you can have some player buy-in, they're going to be more bought into the process because they just articulated that, hey, you know what, we did a really poor job of communication, let's work on communication today. So I really like opening space for players to talk and for them to self-assess, hey, what are we doing well? What are we not doing well? What do we need to do to get better today at practice? That's
one of my favorite things after a game is, you know how you take the team out to the outfield, you sit them down, you talk to them. The first thing that I do is, okay, guys, What do we think? How did we do today? And let them talk.
Yeah, let them talk. They say, leaders talk last, right? You talk last. Let them talk first. And you know what? 90% of the time, they're going to basically say exactly what you would have said. So let it come from them. Let it come from within. You'd be surprised how smart and self-aware the kids of today are. They really are smart and very aware. But a lot of coaches, they don't hold space for them. So a lot of my practices, they start and end in what I call the campfire. We started it during COVID. We just will sit in a circle for 5 minutes, and we'll either play a game or we'll talk or we'll set goals or we'll talk about a life lesson. Maybe we had a really tough loss. We'll talk about adversity and what it means to battle back from that. But I think holding space for kids to open up their mouths, you're going to get a chance to learn a little bit more about what makes each kid tick. And once you learn that, you can better coach those players.
Whole thing about being transformational, right? Rather than being transactional.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's funny to your point, what you said about, the kids and how smart they are. It always amazes me how they'll tell me things that I don't even remember from the game. Like, hey, coach, I rolled over on this ball, the shortstop, and I didn't run maybe 100% down the first. I'm like, what? I don't even remember that,
Yeah.
So they know every little detail, whether it was good or bad.
Yeah, they do. And helping them drive it home, whether it be journaling or just talking about it or asking them, hey, what's one thing that we can do or you can do on your own time between this practice and the next practice to get better? That's big. Kids of nowadays, they don't always know. They don't inherently know like what you used to know that, hey, look, I suck at hitting opposite field. I'm going to go hit, off the tee for 30 minutes. That's not like intuitive for all the kids nowadays. They might need to be taught and inspired to go and practice on their own time. So, back to your question about what can a great parent do for their players, just play catch. Hey, son, you want to go play some catch? That's huge. That is huge. What's more therapeutic than going out and playing some catch with your son out in the backyard?
Yeah.
I mean, you do that for 10 minutes, a few times a week, 4 times a week, 40 minutes a week times 50 weeks a year. That's what, 2,000 minutes or whatever of extra playing time. Imagine how much better your players will be, how much they'll separate themselves from the pack if they're just putting in 10 minutes 4 times a week of just playing some catch. Yeah.
I think that I couldn't agree with you more. And as a matter of fact, I think that I said this when we were on the ABCA podcast with Ryan. I think you had left by then, but I said that it's really important for instructors when kids are going for these lessons, after the lesson is over, take mom or dad and say, hey, listen, this is what actually have mom and dad there watching you work with their kid, and then explain to them, this is how the drill is done. This is what we're looking for. You could do this at home, and get them involved that way.
I no longer do lessons, but I did them for many years. And my goal, and, look, I get it. Like, a lot of people do lessons and it's their business and they need to see their kids over and over again to make their money. But my goal was to work with a kid maybe 3 or 4 times. And I don't want to see him anymore because I want to teach them how to be their own best coach.
Yes.
And empower when those kids are still under their parents' roof, they're part of the process. They're part of the learning process. So the more that you could educate them about their process and what their kid needs, the better they're going to be. So again, like for all the instructors out there that do private lessons, try to engage those parents as much as they're willing to and empower and teach them, about what their child needs. And hopefully, the players can become their own best coach, because that's how it is. Like, those kids know themselves better than anybody else. So let's teach them how to self-correct on their own.
Yeah. Yep. So we're running up on 35 minutes, so I know you've got to go. I want to touch on one other thing if you have a minute.
Sure.
Okay, so you have a new program out. I think it's new anyway, about the program teaches parents and coaches how to coach. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So I've been doing coaches clinics for over 10 years now, and I was unable to meet the demand of all the little leagues. It was mainly little leagues in Northern California. And what I realized was that, I would go out and some would come out, some wouldn't, but in general, 95% of leagues are providing 0 quality resources for their coaches. And I thought that was crazy. And I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that is why baseball is struggling. And I do believe that if we told parent volunteers that, hey, you would get a digestible, an actionable set of resources that included ready to use practice plans and actionable drills, you would actually attract more parent volunteers and retain them and create better experiences. So I created a 5 to 8 training, ages 5 to 8 training and certification, ages 8 to 10, 8 to 12 training and certification. And it includes everything that a league and coach would possibly need. So safety, CPR, practice planning, field maintenance, the equipment that you would need, how to use your coaches, infield, outfield, hitting, every single thing. Very comprehensive. There isn't anything out there that does something that is that comprehensive. So Little League International is vetting it as we speak. And my goal is that hopefully by the fall, but certainly by next spring, that this will be a quote menu option for little leagues to license Legends Coach Academy and essentially purchase logins for their coaches to have something on their phone where they can print practice plans and they can get all the resources that they might need so that they don't need to scour the internet looking for drills. I've curated all the best drills for each different age group that they can implement into their practices.
That's fantastic. I talk about it all the time on the show where I do community clinics for USA Baseball, one a year, and it just blows my mind how little youth coaches come to these clinics. I mean, there is a wealth of knowledge between all of the instructors that are there that can help you to become a better coach. And forget about it, even if you're not personally looking to become a better coach, but you're still volunteering to do a job, and your job is to make your players better. Spend a couple hours at a clinic like ours to, learn a few things. And if you could learn one thing that you can get to a player that's going to help him, then that's great. Okay. But that's what always bothers me about education or coaching education is that it seems to me that people are so reluctant to do it.
I agree. And I think it's because they think because they didn't play high school baseball or play baseball at all that they can't coach baseball. Honestly, you don't need to know a lot about baseball or really anything about baseball to be a quality youth coach. You got to learn to be a facilitator. You need to learn how to set up the environment, and the game itself will be the teacher. So within 90 minutes to 2 hours with the Legends Coach Academy or other training programs that do exist out there, I believe it's a great investment. And if parents out there want to create an optimized experience for their kids to learn, grow, and have fun, take that 90 minutes to 2 hours to learn the nuts and bolts of how to create a practice plan, how to set up drills in the right way. You don't need to know the intricacies of how to teach a kid how to hit in the right way, but if you can figure out how to set up a drill and have the kids self-organize, the game itself will be the teacher, and the kids, if you give them enough reps, will start to figure it out over time.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, I always say that we're not creating robots, we're creating athletes. And like you said, just point them in the right direction, let them go. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be certain things that you're going to have to work with them on. But, I don't want to say that there's not a lot to it. But at the younger levels, if you just, what's that old expression? Keep it simple, stupid. Just keep it simple. Let the kids have fun, and you'll be a good coach.
Lots of stations, lots of repetitions, lots of fun. Kids will get better 100% of the time. It's never failed.
Yeah. I mean, we did a clinic last summer real quick. And, geez, I don't remember how many stations I had set up on the field. And, afterwards, the reaction from the parents was humbling. They were just like, oh, my God, this is great. The kids had fun. They were moving around. Everybody was doing something. And I'm saying to myself, well, yeah, this is what it should be. Why is it not?
Totally. Yeah. Well, not all coaches get it. And practice planning is not rocket science. I mean, you get locked in with a good practice plan template. You just got to, drop the kids in, switch it up every day and teach a little bit of the coaches what to do, and the game will take care of itself. So I'm glad you get it, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, it's been a long time. It took me a while to get it, but it's been a long time. So, David, I got to tell you, this has been great. I know we've been trying to hook up for forever, and I'm glad that we finally did it. I'm glad that we met out in Kansas City last November. It was great to meet you in person, and I'm looking forward to Augusta in November again.
Likewise, I'll see you out there. It should be fun. I think that, every year that we're doing this, it's a step in the right direction to make a better world for the future of baseball and for the kids of today. So excited to be out there, connect with you more, and figure out how we can make baseball better. So I appreciate you having me on, Jimmy.
No, anytime. It was my pleasure. And look, stay in touch. Who knows? We'll do this again sometime.
Sounds good. If anybody out there is interested, check out legendscoachacademy.com. My website is legendscamps.com. You could also look up legendsspeedball.com or just look up Speedball on the internet. Feel free to reach out. My email is david@legendscamps.com. I love connecting. I love helping people. So I'd love to hear from anybody out there.
I'm glad that you did that because I almost blew it and forgot to say that to you to give you your contact information. So, once again, Dave, thanks again. And, yeah, November can't get here fast enough.
Sounds good, Jimmy. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, Dave, take care.
Take care.
So if you're looking for more action, more playing time, and more fun, you got to go out and you got to look up Speedball. David's website is legendscamps.com. That's legendscamps.com. And look it up. Find out a little bit more about Speedball and how it can help our young baseball players become better players, better athletes, and have a lot of fun while doing it. I really can't say enough good things about David's approach to developing young baseball players because, as we know, youth baseball can be boring at times. Not a lot of action, not a lot of things going on. Some kids, get bored with it. Well, this is a way to speed the game up, make it more exciting for the boys and girls, and I just think it's a great concept. So thank you all for listening. Once again, check us out on Facebook, X, and you can always reach us by email, clearingthebases@gmail.com. And like I always say, I love to hear from you. And if you think about it, by using David's concept of Speedball, all of your players and all of your parents are going to fully understand that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.